The Galactic Combat Academy floated in the void between stars, a massive station where the galaxy's finest warriors trained. Representatives from every known species gathered here to prove their worth, to demonstrate why their race deserved respect among the stars. Joe stood on the observation platform, 300 feet above the training arena floor. His hands trembled slightly as he gripped the railing. Below, the anti-gravity cushions hummed softly, ready to catch falling cadets during aerial combat exercises. Humans, chittered Zarthan, a mantis-like Kresh warrior beside him. Always so nervous. Your species lacks the natural combat instincts of true predators. Joe didn't respond. He'd heard it all before. Humans were weak. Humans were slow. Humans had no natural weapons, no armor plating, no venom sacs. They were the galaxy's newest addition to the Academy, and most species considered their admission a charitable mistake. The exercise was simple. Jump from the platform, engage opponents in mid-air combat, and land safely in the cushion zone. Joe had practiced the maneuver dozens of times in simulation, but this was real. His heart hammered against his ribs. "Cadet Joe, you're up," called Instructor Vaughn, a towering Krillian whose scales gleamed like polished obsidian. Joe climbed onto the platform edge. 300 feet, the anti-grav cushions would catch him, probably. He closed his eyes, took a breath, and jumped. The fall was exhilarating and terrifying. Wind rushed past his ears as gravity pulled him down. He was supposed to activate his propulsion pack at 200 feet, engage the practice drones, demonstrate his combat prowess. But something went wrong. His propulsion pack sputtered and died. Joe's stomach lurched as he continued to plummet, now picking up dangerous speed. The anti-grav cushions below weren't designed for free-falling humans at terminal velocity. At this speed, they might as well be concrete. Panic flooded his system. He clawed at the pack's emergency release, but the straps were jammed. 150 feet, 100 feet, this was it. He was going to die on his first real training exercise, and every species in the galaxy would nod knowingly. Of course the human failed. "They don't belong here." Then she appeared. Mary launched herself from a lower platform at 75 feet. Her trajectory calculated with impossible precision. She wasn't supposed to be part of this exercise. She was from the Advanced Combat Division, the only human who'd made it past the preliminary trials through stubborn determination. Joe saw her coming, a blur of motion, dark hair streaming behind her like a war banner. Time seemed to slow as his oxygen-starved brain processed what was happening. She wasn't trying to catch him. She was trying to intercept him. Mary twisted in midair, her body positioned perfectly. At 50 feet, she struck. Her fist connected with Joe's jaw with the force of a meteor impact. The punch was perfectly placed, perfectly time-designed, not to injure permanently, but to immediately shut down conscious thought. Joe's eyes rolled back, his body going limp instantly. The watching cadets gasped. Instructor Vaughn's mandibles clicked in shock. Mary wrapped her arms around Joe's unconscious form, activated both their emergency chutes simultaneously, and deployed a secondary gravity compensator she'd jury-rigged to her belt. The combined system screamed in protest, but held. They hit the cushions at a survivable speed, Mary absorbing most of the impact with her legs, rolling to disperse the momentum. She laid Joe down gently as medics rushed forward. His pulse was strong, breathing steady. He'd wake up with a magnificent bruise and a concussion, but he'd wake up. "Cadet Mary." Instructor Vaughn's voice boomed across the arena. "Explain yourself." Mary stood at attention, though her legs shook from the impact. Blood trickled from her nose where the sudden deceleration had burst a blood vessel. "Sir, Cadet Joe's propulsion system failed. At terminal velocity, the standard cushions would have been insufficient. His body mass, multiplied by acceleration, would have. I know the physics, Cadet." Vaughn's scales rippled with what might have been anger or might have been something else. "You launched yourself into an unsanctioned combat maneuver, struck a fellow cadet, and deployed unauthorized equipment." "Yes, sir. You could have killed him with that punch." "No, sir. I calculated the force precisely." Rendering him unconscious reduced his body's instinctive tension response. A conscious, panicking human tenses their muscles, making impact injuries worse. An unconscious body goes limp, distributes impact force more evenly. It increased his survival probability by 47%. The arena had gone silent. Every species present stared at the small human female who'd just done the impossible. Zerthon-esque mandibles clicked rapidly, the Kresh equivalent of nervous laughter. She calculated all that. While falling, "Humans," Mary said, her voice carrying across the arena, "don't have natural weapons. We don't have armor or claws or venom, but we have something better." She tapped her forehead, leaving a small smear of blood. We have this. We calculate, we adapt, we overcome. She looked around at the assembled cadets, meeting the eyes of every species that had ever called humans weak. You think we don't belong here because we're not born warriors? You're right. We're not born warriors. We're born survivors. And that's infinitely more dangerous. Joe groaned, consciousness returning. His jaw throbbed magnificently. Through blurred vision, he saw Mary standing over him, her hand extended. Come on, cadet, she said softly. Time to get up. We've got a reputation to build. Joe took her hand, let her pull him to his feet. Around them, the galaxy's finest warriors watched in stunned silence. Instructor Vaughn's scales rippled again. This time, it was definitely respect. Training resumes in 10 minutes, he announced. All cadets, take note. This is what combat innovation looks like. Dismissed. As the cadets dispersed, Zarthan approached Mary cautiously. Human Mary, he clicked. I may have misjudged your species. Mary wiped the blood from her nose and grinned a very human expression that showed her teeth. May have. The Kresh warrior's mandibles clicked again, but this time it sounded almost like laughter, almost like respect. Joe rubbed his aching jaw and smiled despite the pain. Maybe humans did belong here after all. They just had to prove it one impossible maneuver at a time. Above them, the stars wheeled in their eternal dance, indifferent to the struggles below. But in one small corner of the galaxy, on a training station floating in the void, humanity had just announced itself, not with a roar, with a perfectly calculated punch. The end.